Sublime magnificence.
Hey guys, you know who it is, what's going on, when it's happening, where it's at, and why we're here today. How you doing? It is I, the sublimely magnificent Big Ugly himself, Omari Ellis Feo Grande on YouTube, back with another episode that this guy hasn't seen. And as usual, I am joined by my co-host and running mate, one of my best friends in the world, El Director himself, Bill Smith.
Hey, Omari, thanks for having me back as always. Love being here. Someone just threw their back out again.
No,
Oh, okay. I thought that was the pose that you had made.
okay, nah.
We got another big one here, Omari. I mean, not, it's like not we're not the thing we're watching isn't, but it's connected similar. We hit Dragon Ball
Yeah,
a couple of weeks ago.
we did. And
There's
this
another there's another pillar of fandom that we have to tackle at some point, right?
Yes, there is, and that pillar would be the X-Men. That's right. So, um, it's
Ba-na-na-na-na-na-na.
where.
Ba-na-na-na-na.
That's right. We're watching X-Men '97 because they've got something going on this year. We're good. So there's another thing, kind of like Solo Leveling, where we're watching the first few episodes of a recent thing happening this year that you can go watch right now.
Yeah,
And so yeah, and yeah, so X-Men '97 on Disney Plus is what we're watching right now.
X-Men 97. A band of mutants use their uncanny gifts to protect a world that hates and fears them. They're challenged like never before, forced to face a dangerous and unexpected new future. Obviously, you have the creators of the characters, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, series creator Bo DeMeo. Stars are bunch of voice actors, including a bunch of returning voice actors from the original series, right?
Yes, I believe they got just about everybody from the original series that they could. They got them to come back, voice actors. They couldn't get Cyclops to come back because he is deceased. Wolverine, Storm, Jean. I just realized I don't know if Jean Grey has ever been voiced by anybody other than Jennifer Hale. But she's in this one as well. Storm's voice actress is the same lady. Like 90% of the cast is the exact same people that they were back in the day. And even had, I guess, some people from the original program working on it as well. Um, but yeah, so X-Men '97, continuation of the X-Men, the animated series from the '90s. I I'm a fan of the X-Men, I've been having this habit of pulling out merchandise and stuff on to prove my
Uh,
fandom of
there
things.
keeps being a glare I can't quite see. I think it's
Oh,
Storm. Okay, yeah, it's Storm.
yeah, it's Storm. It's a holographic one where she uses like little ice things to attack. I have a
Mm-hmm.
cable as well. Anyway, fan of the X-Men, always have been since I was a kid. I didn't I was a fan because of the '90s show. The theme, we hinted at it earlier. Everybody knows it.
Team slaps.
Yeah, back then, I didn't pay attention to the plot of anything. I knew the general gist. They were mutants. They had superpowers. People ain't like them because of it.
Yep.
Uh, Cyclops was blue and shot lasers out his eyes. He liked Jean. Wolverine had cool claws. He liked Jean. Gambit blew stuff up, and Rogue said, "Hey, Shug." And Beast was blue and furry.
Yep.
Dude, I didn't understand anything else really going on. Oh, Magneto, cool, whatever. Morph. I didn't realize he died in the first episode. It's okay. He got better, as they say. But yeah, around 2013 or around 2010 or so, and then especially 2013, I got into it was around the 50th anniversary of the comics. And during that time of my life, I was on a kick of, I call myself a fan of this, but I don't really know a lot about it. Am I really a fan, or should I fix that? I did it at one point with Dragon Ball, where I went back and actually read the manga and everything. I've done it with stuff like Naruto and One Piece and stuff like that. And then, but in 2013, I did it with X-Men because I'm like, it's the 50th anniversary. Are they doing anything for it? No. So I'm going to do something for it myself. I read pretty much, I'm going to say, just to leave some room because I didn't read literally everything. I'm going to say I read about 90% of X-Men related comics from 1960 to, by the time I caught up, 2015. I'm behind now on modern day X-Men stuff, but still. But the bottom line is I ended up absorbing a lot of X-Men knowledge, loving the series, and it became another big just, what does Omari like? Oh, he likes Dragon Ball, X-Men, One Piece, like that, God of War. Very simple person. And fighting games. Can't forget the fighting games. Anyway, so when I heard X-Men 97 was coming out, I was a little wary about it. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
After I caught up with the comics, I did go back and watch the cartoon, the animated series.
Yep.
And I loved it because having read the comics, and after watching X-Men Evolution and Wolverine and the X-Men, while not comically accurate or whatever, it's an adaptation. It doesn't have to be. I understand. It's the closest thing to comically accurate. Like they have the closest parallel. They still do their own things, which we'll get into, but it's the closest parallel, at least with that 90s series. It's unfortunate that it had to end when it did. Canceled, whatever. Charles dying was ridiculous. I had even forgotten that had happened until they brought up, hey, X-Men 97 is coming back, and we're continuing from where the last X-Men it left off.
Remember when Xavier died?
Yeah, remember when he died at the end? We're keeping that storyline. And we're going from there. Like, oh shit, okay. Because they're like, last season, they got moved to a different animation studio. Like, it was one of those clear, you're getting out of here type deals. And so they did that. But I was excited. But I was wary because people have been upset with the MCU and a lot of modern day Marvel. So I was scared. What are they going to do to my X-Men? But I watched it, saw the first couple of episodes, and I was like, I think Bill has some interest in comics and stuff like that. Maybe he'll be interested in the show. See, get a second opinion on it, kind of like I did with Solo Leveling. So, Bill, how's your X-Men thing? What were you expecting?
So my X-Men goes to, so I was a viewer of the original series, not because I loved it, not because I knew really about anything that was really going on in it. It was because it was Saturday morning, and that's what you did. You bounce between channel 11 and channel 30 depending on what was airing during that season, and then they usually they started to peter out earlier, and then that's when you would pop over to Fox and then Fox would start having like the X-Men and different slightly more adult, like the 10 to 15 range instead of like the 6 to 10. So I would pop over to Fox on Saturday mornings, and X-Men was always in there. And I've seen so many of those episodes, but I never really watched them. I never really consumed them. I was never a big X-Men fan. Never really got into the comics. It was the films for me. When they started making the Hugh Jackman era series of X-Men movies, I got really into it. And that's really where my X-Men knowledge begins and ends. I've gone back a couple of times. I know I have watched the Phoenix arc from beginning to end. I think I've seen a good majority of the Sentinel arc,
Yeah.
but that's about it. And even then in my rewatch, it was never something that super captivated me.
Huh. Oh, that's fair. Uh, so yeah, so that's it. What were you expecting, I guess, getting into?
Um I not sure. Not sure. Because the original source material was so of its time.
Yeah.
But they're literally calling it that in the title.
Yeah.
Like so they're giving a pre-warning. So it may just be they may try and just rock the exact same tone, art style, all that kind of, like, I hadn't been spoiled much at all. I had seen a couple of very limited still frames, but
Mhm.
I hadn't gone into much detail on looking into anything. So I
Same.
wasn't fully sure what even, like, what we were really talking about as far as art styles and things like that. Um, but yes, I did look up. I did YouTube X-Men animated series ending,
Okay.
just in case they didn't give a good enough
Previously
for my
on X-Men.
liking, yeah, previously on. So I did see a very like a 3-minute jump around montage of the final episode kind of thing. So I had that working for me as like a primer, literally right before I started episode 1. But beyond that, I don't know, not expecting a ton.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Episode 1, to me, my X-Men. Cyclops races to find the source of new anti-mutant technology.
Yeah. And right off the bat, we get the they let you know this is still the 90s show. It had the same theme song. It is a more modern version. There's a little bit more
Yeah,
guitar,
it's
and
tweaked a
you
little
can't
bit.
hear the bell as heavily before. Like there's a bell there. You don't hear it as heavily in this one or as
Mm.
loud in this one. Okay, but they're like, they removed the bell. I'm like, oh no, it's there, just quiet. Oh, okay. Um, but yeah, we start the episode. We see the kid getting attacked by the fucking Friends of Humanity. This is Roberto da Costa. He'll be with us for a few episodes, aka from the comics, known as Sunspot. Uh, one of the New Mutants. They made a movie about New Mutants a while back. I haven't seen it. I don't know if Sunspot's in that one, but I mean, he should be. He's one of the founding members of the New Mutants. Anyway, he's in this, and they're pretty much, it's a redo of Night of the Sentinels from the first episode of the first thing. Here's a kid around Jubilee's age. Yeah, it was Jubilee in the first episode of the original series, being attacked, and saved by the X-Men as we introduce all the characters to you, and they get scared going around the mansion and all of that. But yeah, this opening sequence with them attacking the Friends of Humanity and like breaking, and saving DaCosta, um, they make it clear a couple things. One, they're hyping the fuck up out of Scott this season. And I'm kind of here for it. I'm not gonna lie to you. They're hyping the fuck out of Cyclops this season. Also, I fucking love Storm's just over dramaticness whenever she uses her powers. Let the rains come through it.
Yeah, I mean they're setting us up.
Yeah,
Like, they're
but
setting us up for but yeah, she is like, yeah,
And that's her in the 90s too. Like this show, clearly with them calling it 97, they're going for a nostalgia grab or whatever.
Uh-huh.
They lay it on pretty heavy right off the bat. They're like, you're here for the nostalgia. We're not gonna just toy with you and call it this, but do something 100% different because we
Yeah.
baited you in. They're like, no, you want your nostalgia, you get your nostalgia. Here's the same fucking voice actors and everything, and Storm being super fucking. I will summon the winds. I'm like, because she did that shit in the 90s too. I'm in the old show. I'm just like, I love that she's anyway, they save everybody and even have Scott early on when the guy attacks him and he's like, please don't hit me. And he does the not and shoots him with the fucking laser beam. People make fun of the 90s show because he did that in the first season too, in the first episode as well. Like a Sentinel, they're like, this show that's very much a product of its own time. Sure, I'll surrender. Not laser. So they did that. Eventually they save the kid, go back to the mansion. Jean is pregnant, and Professor X is dead. And then she fucking has. I thought it was
Scott
funny.
is clearly anxiety ridden
This guy is clearly anxiety ridden.
over the whole ordeal.
Yeah. And she wants to leave, and she wants him to leave the mansion so they can like raise the baby. But he's like, who's gonna
Oh, great
leave?
idea, Gene, to increase my anxiety even more.
Yeah, tell me to leave everybody I've known, the only place I've really been my entire life. They're also clearly building something with Jubilee and Sunspot, with her like introducing him to everything. Fucking Wolverine scares the shit out of the kid in the danger room, which I thought was funny. Be nice to the lady. Oh, cool. Real enough for you. So he gets scared and runs off. Meanwhile, they establish early on that Morph is here to just troll people. When he comes in, he's also a cameo machine. He's just like, I'm going to turn into random people you probably won't see this season. Or maybe you will. Who knows? I'm going to turn into Angel as we fly to go attack the Sentinel base because they eventually find out it's Sentinel technology or whatever.
Yep. Does Morph have their power set when he morphs into them, like completely?
I don't think so. I think it's literally just because here's the thing, Morph was someone created for the TV show. Like the first time anyone hears of Morph, it was episode 1 of the original series, and he died episode 2. He eventually comes back, has a whole deal with Mr. Sinister and shit like that, which we'll touch on. And then in the comics, they decided to add him to the comics and make him canon to them, kind of like Harley Quinn. He's one of those characters, or X-23 from X-Men Evolution is the same case, where they debuted in that. I don't remember. I don't think he has their actual powers. I think it's because Archangel has wings. He can use the wings because he transformed into them. They're physical wings. Other people, I think it's just like, oh, I have a sword because it's an item, I guess. But I don't think we see him shoot anything or do anything like power wise.
Okay.
I think it's just physical abilities of what he transforms into.
Observation I had at some point during this first episode, want to get your thoughts on it as somebody who actually watched the original series a lot more than I did, has more connection to it. But I was talking to her about how it's it was surprising how different the Logan Scott Jean thing is from film to this animated series, because you're not talking about Hugh Jackman anymore. Like, you're no longer talking about Hugh Jackman and Famke Janssen. You're talking about Jean Grey and a glorified gorilla man. And so it feels way different. It feels a lot more like Jean Grey being like, "Oh, that's sweet." Like where in the movie it feels like at times like real genuine sexual tension and will they, won't they, and would she actually choose Logan over Scott?
Yeah.
And in this one it feels like all right, this is entirely in Logan's head. And Jean Grey is like, "Oh, that's sweet.
I,
I'll use it to my advantage on occasion when I really need it."
I want to say they had times where, and I mean, there's a later episode where she like kind of talks with them and they seem like kind of close,
Yeah.
but I feel like it's always been just Gene, Scott, and Logan being the outside guy looking in, or not outside guy looking in, but he's the guy that's telling her, "I want you." I'm with Scott. Oh yeah, sweetie, I know, but I'm with Scott. Type shit. That if they do have moments, then it's just like okay, but I don't think they ever. To the, it's been a minute, and anything they had was like brief. That was just the two of them. But Wolverine's always had feelings for her, but he's always been the one to move on and be like, "I don't fucking like you, Scott," but clearly that's y'all deal. I'm gonna go over here with my Japanese wife or date Storm for a couple months or some shit. Because they've dated in the past as well in the comics. But yeah, I know what you mean though. It's not it's just like
It's
okay.
different when it's not Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. It's like less of a triangle, more of a line.
Yeah, exactly. Or like you said, two people and another point. Just like, yeah, a line and a dot.
So yeah, but you're not wrong. Yeah, they go eventually though, they go to save the kid. First they save him from the club, which whatever, and they find out where the Sentinels are, and they go to attack the base where they're making a new master mold. And then plane gets attacked while they're going. And they're all going down, Storm and Rogue, since they can fly, or just grabbing people. Another day, another toy, another plane. Do. And then Scott, of all people, goes, "See you on the ground." Wait, what? He just dive bombs toward the ground and then lasers to soften it as he makes his fucking superhero landing. And then he gives "to me, my X-Men." And I'm just like, the people on this show really love them some Scott Summers. They're like, we did him dirty in the movies. We're not doing him dirty in the damn show. This is the main character. Y'all gonna have to deal with it.
I mean, yeah, like if we can fast forward, just to say like the most popular X-Man really takes a back seat so far in these first 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Like this is Scott, Jean Grey, and Jubilee's show so far in the episodes that we've watched.
Always has been. The meme with the gun in space, like, wait, so it was just about Scott, Gene, and Jubilee? Always has been. but, but yeah, they attack trash, they save the Sentinels and stuff. They fucking go. We get a cool little let's break some Sentinels moment montage, Sentinel breaking montage.
No, that is hilarious. It is straight up just like a montage, and it's all of them just doing outlandish teamwork moves and shit. Just like highly choreographed, rehearsed teamwork moves.
And then the Sentinels finally look like they're getting some fucking upper hand. And again, fucking Scott just goes, Aurora, give them the forecast. I am Storm. It's like, okay, this is why people fear mutants. This is what people are scared of. You know, at least the Fantastic, because I've heard people make the criticism like, why do people hate mutants in the same universe where they praise the Fantastic Four and Iron Man and Captain America? And I tell you, because at least the Fantastic Four, Iron Man, Captain America had shit happen to them and they ended up like this. Mutants are just born that way. The Storm just woke up one day and was just like, oh God.
They're the next evolution of man.
Yeah. So yeah, I can see why people
the Sentinel right before that goes, Omega power level incoming.
Also hilarious. Omega level mutant detected.
I mean, hey, I marked out. I turned to my wife and I was like, "Ooh, Omega level. That's the highest level, Jen."
But yeah, and I'm always clearly as I showed with the sticker. Clearly, I'm also gonna mark out for Storm as well. So I was like,
Thoughts
holy
on
shit.
Mohawk over full head of hair?
I wish they would have saved it till after episode 2.
That, you know what? That would have been cool. I didn't even think about that, but that would have been really poignant. If they would have brought her in exactly how because everything else is exactly how it was in 1997, except Storm went and got a haircut.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, you guys couldn't have waited till she lost her powers, because then that would coincide a long time alongside with when it happened in the comic.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure if she lost it shortly before the incident or afterwards, but at one point she gets kind of in a depressive funk and she hangs with one of Wolverine's Japanese friends, this chick named Yukio, who just kind of tells her, because Storm's real disciplined, regal, I am class. And this other girl's like, I can do whatever the fuck I want, Max within, little bitch. Let's jump off buildings for no reason. And so she goes, hangs out with her for a night, and at the end of the night, she's like, let's get a new look, get a makeover. And she comes out with the mohawk and the leather jacket, and she's feeling better about herself. And then she goes for like I think a good year of IRL time, if not longer, with no powers, and still whooping ass as the leader of the X-Men because she's Storm.
That's awesome. Yukio, is that the girl from Deadpool?
I don't know if it's the same.
That's
Yukio.
dating. Okay.
I don't know if that's supposed to be the same Yukio. No, because she's young in Deadpool, right? Because you said she's dating.
She's dating Negasonic Teenage
Yeah,
Warhead.
I don't think that's the same one, but who knows? Could be a reference.
Deadpool.
Yeah, it's the Deadpool movies.
Maybe we'll learn out in 3.
Yeah, maybe where Wolverine shows up.
Yeah.
In costume, finally. That's what I'm looking forward to, that for whatever weird reason.
I wouldn't be shocked if we also get the burnt orange one. Like I would absolutely not be surprised.
Yeah, but so yeah, they save the day.
End of episode 1.
They go back to the Bastion.
Scott's like, guys, I'm sorry I've been such a pain in the ass. It's just I've been really worried about, being the leader of the X-Men now and running all of this.
But I guess I'm gonna get ready to leave, and then all of it. Well, who's gonna lead the X-Men? When Charles Xavier died, he said, dude, motherfucking Magneto shows up looking super fucking with his fucking hair super fancy now. And
was that not original series Magneto?
Not to this degree, no. He got a makeover too. I'm pretty sure there's they're referencing some version of him in the comics. They've got to be, because they're pretty much doing that with everybody's looks. in this.
Uh-huh.
Like Bishop got a haircut too for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm not that familiar with Bishop.
Yeah, he got a
It-
haircut as well between the animated series and now.
yeah.
Rogue's more or less the same. Gambit,
In my
Wolverine.
in my head, every time I look at him, I I I have to stop myself from saying Black Cable. I don't know why.
The 90s show pretty much made it that. They were both
Okay.
time travelers. They both used big guns. And
Like, I think if they were just silhouettes, you would
it,
probably be like, yeah, I could tell those two apart.
and it doesn't help that in the comics they eventually just become like ever intertwined. Like there's a big saga that just Bishop chasing Cable throughout time, trying to kill him and a baby. Stories for another day. Bottom line is, I get it. Black Cable,
Okay.
especially if you don't understand, if you don't know much about.
No, it was just something that kept popping in my head, and then I would be
They
like, Bill,
even dress
you're not
similar.
supposed to think that.
They
Stop
dress
stop
similar.
stop simplifying this man
Yeah,
to
they both have the predominantly blue with yellow strap shit going on.
That's what I was hoping for you to say, but I just didn't.
Yeah, it's funny to me.
I almost didn't say it.
If anyone you could say it around.
We're being recorded.
Yeah, also true. But yes, so Magneto shows up and apparently he's gotten the will to own the mansion, his fortune, and even his team belong to me, my X-Men. Dun-dun-dun.
Episode 2, Mutant Liberation begins when Magneto is forced by the UN to stand trial. A group of anti-mutant rioters test his resolve.
Yes. So, yeah. Start the episode, Magneto saving some Morlocks. We get to see a good Morlock cameo. Callisto and them down in the sewers. Also, they hint at Magneto and Rogue early on. And she's like,
I had forgotten about that, but that's something I was thinking I would ask you about when it happened, of like, is that a thing? I guess
it's
I guess he's
something that's
doing
happened
like,
a lot in the
I
comics.
guess he's making himself like an electromagnetic microscopic shield kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. It's like somebody said that like the best thing about Magneto is that his powers were introduced before we actually understood what that meant. So people just came up with all kinds of shit that he could do with his electromagnetism powers. But one of them is, yeah, he can pretty much make as thin as possible a barrier between the two of them so they can touch.
I mean, that's essentially what touch is like two electromagnetic impulse barriers reaching and sparking on each other.
And he's the master of magnetism.
There you go.
Yeah,
What's up with
electricity and magnetism are intertwined.
What's up with his costume? Is that like of anybody that you would costume redesign? Is it just because he's being a good guy now and like in character it's like, no, this is my superhero look.
It's a little of that. And also there's
Charles not around, so I don't need my helmet anymore.
There's just a period of the comics somewhere out there where he's had that attire.
Okay, the big M and
the big M, the hair, the helmet off, and like that with the logo, the Magneto. Probably one of his self-titled series over the years.
Okay,
but I think for the show it is him just being, I'm a
like,
good guy now.
Magneto's look
with the helmet on
is fucking iconic. Like,
I love the helmet. Man, Magneto's one of
I would maybe put it over Wolverine, just as far as sheer look.
I'll give it to you. Hey, Magneto, it's Mag fucking Nito.
Mag fucking Nito.
But he's a good guy in this one, so he's just going to be downgraded to Magneto because that's what happens to every villain when they decide to be a good guy. They just become weaker all of a sudden. Like, but he's still pretty strong. Anyway.
Yeah, we're starting the episode with him just like showing the team, no, I'm doing this for real, guys. This is legit. And he's rough. He's rough, but he's not crossing the line.
Right.
Like he's pretty fucking, like you mentioned the subway thing. Like he's pretty aggressive. Like his words and the things that he's saying, you'd think like a neck snap is immediately following it. And
Yeah.
it just
And then he just
doesn't
keeps
happen.
following it up with, but I am turning a new leaf now.
Yeah.
Thank Charles Xavier that you're still alive. Just like, but yeah, he's still doing
The
some
UN
work.
council member, who we met in episode 1,
Oh, Valerie.
video conferencing with Scott,
Yeah, Valerie
and
Cooper.
I don't remember who else, maybe Scott and Jean,
Yeah.
while running on a treadmill. I didn't understand that. I don't know if that's a hidden,
I guess.
I don't know if that's an Easter egg of some kind.
I don't know.
Like why
I think
you
that's
would
just
have
showing how close she is with the X-Men, or where she can get the video conference in while jogging. I have no idea why they got Val on a treadmill, but they had her on a treadmill. She's just like,
there's
hey.
a lot of ways to express that she's like a busy lady, or I don't know. Like,
but
it just felt weird.
yeah, so I'll agree. Yeah, I got nothing superfluous. But yeah,
she
when
shows
she shows up and she's like, "You're under arrest, and don't bother using your magnetism on our weapons, bitch." Helicopters. Then he's like, "I assume I'll get a fair trial, and you will let me go and let me do whatever the fuck I want." Yeah, all right, we'll play it your way.
Uh-huh.
I said I was turning over a new leaf. And so pretty much it was this episode where I realized kind of what they're doing, where they're with this, and we're going to be playing a lot of the hits, or a lot of, hey, remember this thing that happened in the comics? Remember this thing that happened in the comics? Like the Trial of Magneto. Actually, I'm pretty sure the cover of the Trial of Magneto, he's standing there with a similar M outfit.
Okay.
So that's probably where they were going with it. And it's a similar circumstance where he's like trying to turn over a new leaf, and the X-Men ain't the X-Men. It's weird. And he ends up, having something with the estate. So it's interesting how they're doing this when I talk about them doing shit from the comics. But it's like they'll take a story from the comics and apply it to their own established canon, as opposed to, which I guess that's what they always do in adaptations, Omari. No, usually they will just go, when they apply it to their established canon, it's like, we'll take 3 big key points in the story. Like, Jean has Phoenix powers, she turns evil, we need to beat her. That's all we're gonna do. And meanwhile, the show's like, okay, so here's how she got it. Here's the slow trend, here's the whole saga that is the Phoenix saga. It's a whole story. Anyway, bottom line is Trial of Magneto. People don't like the fact that Magneto's getting into a trial for obvious reasons. He's a mutant terrorist. Everybody knows this. And so they attack, the protesters attack. In comes this motherfucker, Executioner. I don't even remember him that much from the comics. I do know him. I saw the name. I'm like, yep, that's Executioner. And he's here to give some racist speeches. You know what I don't like? You're whining. The fact that you whine. Other people got bad problems too. You don't hear us whining about it. That's the only thing I don't like. Meanwhile, X-Men try to start de-escalating the thing, and Wolverine stayed at home with Jean, and he's about to go, and he's like, Jean, I gotta go. She's like, wait, he's here. He's like, who? Apocalypse? He's like, no, the baby. Oh, shit. I just love that. Who? And he like draws his claws and everything. He's ready to
I remember laughing at that moment too. Just like it's random and like yeah, just like the one of the worst people he could think of to be here.
That's conditioning, just knowing your life like ain't nobody else should be in the house. We ain't expecting nobody. And Gene just comes downstairs. He's here. Oh,
My mortal enemy.
but yeah. So we go back to the fucking courtyard. Eventually, they get past the X-Men, too many of them or whatever. They get inside. Magneto gives his whole thing talking about his reasoning being a Holocaust survivor. He's like, y'all hated me when you thought I was a human, but I called God a different name than you. And then now you're hating me because I'm part of a different group because we got powers and stuff. I don't like that, but I'm trying to be better. You guys got to understand me. Protesters come in and Scott's like, go ahead, tell Storm, take control of the room. And Storm, fucking love Storm. She just comes around, she's like, do this. Take that man's chains off. You do this, that. How the hell are you? You will listen to me and you will survive. Yes, ma'am. Like, she was just like, I ain't having your shit right now. Listen to me and live, damn it. People come in, Magneto does his epic behave like animals and be caged. And then Storm's like, shit, you can be dramatic, so can I. I will summon the lightning. And then that's when Executioner comes in, gets ready to shoot Magneto, and Storm seeing it. And almost the exact, like, even though it's not the same person she was saving in the comic, she was saving Rogue at the time. But it was a Storm up here flies, sees, and swoops in, taking the shot, not knowing what the gun was even gonna do, just knowing that this person was about to be shot. So she does it, she's just saving Magneto instead of Rogue. But she loses her powers, and Magneto turns around and is like, well, this face turn was very short-lived.
Yeah.
Because he's like, the X-Men have done nothing but fight for years to protect the world that hates and fears them. And this is their reward. Will we ever be good enough?
Yeah. He was like, this is your dream. This is what you've wished for your entire life. Is us like withering on the ground.
Well, now I say, as I have so many times before, never again. Like, well, yeah. Yeah.
That lasted one episode.
He takes him up to like damn near space, grabs the executioner guy, got him like crucified, hung upside down on a fucking coin, and he's like, insect, bigot, I could squash you like an ant. You are insignificant and nothing me. But that is the old me. I am trying to be better. Thank Charles Xavier that you lived this day and let me go free.
Oh yeah, and then he walks up to the judges and he's basically like, now you have seen that I would fucking murder you. We're about ready to go back down there, and I'm gonna walk away, and I'm gonna go back to my mansion, and you're not gonna fucking call me again.
Pretty much.
I'll be watching you. You guys are the ones on trial now, motherfuckers.
Magneto, that motherfucker could give a speech though.
Oh man, yeah. No, it is epic. It is absolutely epic.
But yeah, they get down there. Meanwhile, baby,
boy, do they jam pack a bunch of stuff into these 20-minute episodes. My goodness.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the baby's born. Rogue helped deliver the baby by siphoning the doctor's powers because the doctor didn't want to deliver a beauty baby.
That was hilarious. That was hilarious. Because I am more of I am what I know about the things are from the movies.
Mhm.
So when Cyclops just immediately, without hesitation, just turns to Rogue and is like, "Can you touch this dude and get his doctor powers?" And Rogue's like, "I don't know, man." In the films, that means that basically murders that doctor. Like, so I don't know what the rules are in comic book
Well,
form.
it depends on how long she touches people. They still do fall into a coma, like at that point in the time. It's just like, But if she touches you longer, she can kill you, depending on how long she touches. And
Just
she still
the casual nature of it. I know that we had an
she's a bit
emergency
older than she is in the
pregnancy
movies.
going on.
I think it's also just like she's a bit older than in the X-Men movies. So she's been doing this for a minute. To the point
Right.
where she even acknowledges, like they acknowledge a lot of their origins from the comics in the show, even though it didn't happen. Like she acknowledges, like we all got gray in our legend, baby. I've done a whole bunch of terrible stuff because I mean she debuted in the comics as a Avengers villain,
Oh, okay.
knocking out Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel, and permanently stealing her flight, invulnerability, super strength. The shit you see her doing that's not just touching people in the show. She
Right.
got those powers from Miss Marvel, even in the show. Canonically, her origin's still the same in that regard. So
Okay.
she can kill somebody. Only reason Miss Marvel didn't die is because she was Miss Marvel. She was just, yeah. Anyway, bottom line is the baby is born, and Nathan Charles Summers is born, and I'm like, interesting. They actually had Cable be born to Scott and Jean. That's that's an interesting take because usually Scott and Jean can't have a kid, just the two of them. It's just not allowed to happen for real unless it's Rachel. So it's interesting that they did that with him. I see they removed the Christopher from his name because I guess Scott's dad Corsair isn't brought up enough in the X-Men show for them to put that in there. But Nathan Charles Summers is born, and Storm gives a goodbye letter to everybody. And as the episode ends, people are sad, but Morph's like, she'll show up at the door anytime now. Goes to open the door, and two jeans. Oh shit. I I was like, and now that makes sense. Okay. It makes perfect sense. It wasn't Jean after all. It was somebody else. There's rules to comics, damn it. You can adapt as much as you want, but comics do have rules, and we're sticking by them. Scott and Jean ain't allowed to have a fucking kid. Jean is not that kid's mama.
Which leads us to episode 3, Fire Made Flesh. When a visitor arrives at the mansion with a dangerous secret that threatens Cyclops and Jean's relationship, the team is propelled into a tragic confrontation with an immortal mad scientist.
Yes, Inferno. So pretty much the Inferno saga is squeezed into one episode. Uh, so also the theme song, the clips. I'm not sure if you watched it every time, but they changed it up pretty much every time. Like they added Magneto to the second one, the
Oh,
third
yeah.
one. I think they started putting different clips in there at one point because the first one they had like the shit from the original opening, like Rogue flipping over the Sentinel. Second one they had like random shit with people that you may see referenced in the episode, and just like
Uh-huh.
random new clips every episode. One thing that they keep the same is this morph being chased by Mr. Sinister thing. And I'm like, why of all the clips you are changing, you're not changing that one? Okay, interesting. Point that I just realized. Also, in the fourth episode, they changed the way Jean looks in the opening. So I'm like, interesting that you have these updated openings. But yeah, Beast, no tact, just goes interesting. Well, they're still like, what's going on? I don't really know. Guys, it's crazy. This is the real Gene, and that one's fake. Not a
What? You must have mistaken it. Nope. Science is 100% absolute fact.
this Gene's the real one. You ain't real.
No, yeah. Well, because it's like you said, they're inserting an entire saga into 25 minutes. So it has to be these things like yeah.
So
You summarized it best. Yeah.
yeah, just the fate. And then everyone's like, I guess that if you're saying that, that might be the case. Yeah, and then Jean, the Jean we've seen from the first two episodes, the clone Jean, she's like, guys, come on, it's me. We fought together, we died together. Scott, you of all people, I'm your wife. I'm the mother of your kid. You gotta believe me. I mean the science, though. She storms off, rightfully so. Because Scott didn't think in the moment to be like, come on, let me stand by you at least a little. No, he's just like,
I mean, if you were Scott and you've lived through all the crazy shit that you lived through and your eyeballs shoot laser beams, the idea of
and your wife was once a cosmic level entity capable of doing whatever.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
On one occasion, you've dealt with your wife having two different voices coming out of her mouth.
Yeah. So it's like, if Hank's saying that, there's only one of him in the room. I've known him forever. I thought I knew Gene forever, which means I thought I knew you, but
there are two of you in this room right now.
and I'm being told by the one Hank that this one Gene is real and you two Gene is not. Yeah, no, that's a hard question to answer. If I ever was in that situation, I don't know if I'd be able to just be like, yeah, 100% for sure, honey. Who could also read my mind and know if I'm lying anyway. So how do I tell you anything?
Yeah.
But yes.
In the comics, do we have an answer of when they were switched?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So Jean mentioned something about the blue area of the moon when she's talking to Storm or whatever in one of the previous episodes. When she tries to expedition dump and she's just like, I remember when that time when we were on the blue area of the moon. I had been possessed by a cosmic entity and what she's referencing is the end of the Phoenix Saga, where the climax of everything happens. In the comics, that's where Jean dies, sacrificing herself so the X-Men can live. We didn't have a funeral for Jean. Everything's fine. Everything's not fine, but Scott leaves the X-Men, goes to visit his grandparents in Alaska. Working for his grandparents is a girl with red hair and green eyes that looks almost exactly like Jean, but her name isn't Jean. Her name is Madeline Pryor. She has feelings for Scott almost instantly. He's kind of weird about it because you look just like the girl I've just proposed to myself to. But they eventually hit it off. Like he is wary at first, like, Jean is called the Phoenix. Is this not just Jean? Am I not just tripping? But he eventually realizes they're different people, and he falls in love with Madeline Pryor. And they eventually get married, and they have a son, Nathan Christopher Charles Summers. It's then later revealed that Jean is alive on the other side of the country in the original Jean, and that shit happened in the Phoenix Saga when it first started. That was weird. That it takes a long time to get into. Bottom line is, we do know when that they were different people, but when Scott went to see original Jean, some shit happened with this Jean getting kidnapped by being attacked by demons and Mr. Sinister, and eventually hanging out with the other X-Men, and then being pretty much coerced by demons to pretty much try and sacrifice her baby at some big thing in the Inferno, while these people were trying to take over the demon realm and all this other shit. Bottom line is, it's all shoved into the one episode. We don't even get to see her get introduced as Madeline Pryor, so I have no idea what is happening in the show. The show's got its own canon for when the split happens that I guess will be revealed in time. But in the comics, we do know they're different people. But yeah, Madeline Pryor has always been a clone made by Sinister for the purpose of fucking Scott and giving him a super baby. And Cable is the super baby.
Right.
Who would then grow up and end up being the protector of another super baby. It's actually hilarious. Summers Family has a lot of super babies in it. Anyway, getting
Yeah,
right
a lot
way
of this
out myself.
episode is just clone Jean Grey
Yeah,
being controlled by Mr.
Mr.
Sinister
yeah,
and doing like a house of horrors.
yeah.
on the
Similar
X-Men.
introduction between the two of them too. When they finally meet him, her going, "Who are you?" Most call me Mr. Sinister, but you can call me Father or Daddy. What? Who the hell is you? I cloned you so you could make me that super baby. I have big plans for it. So that stays, and that's pretty much what this episode is, all in one. The X-Men eventually track down Madeline, or Clone Jean, as they call her, for 90% of the episode. And, you know, she puts them in a demon realm to further reference the fact that this is from that arc. Morph turns into a blonde chick, who then turns into a demon form of a blonde chick with the sword. Both of those are the same chick. That's Illyana Rasputin, Colossus's sister, who is tied in with the original comic storyline of Inferno, as she's pretty much the queen of that demon area. And the demons are revolting, and they're helping use Madeline to do it, and trying to use her baby and trying to sacrifice like every baby in New York or some stupid shit. I don't remember the exact details, but again, there's for people who are like, you didn't mention the shout out to Illyana. There, I did. But yeah, horror shit. Eventually, normal Jean wakes up, has an intimate moment with Wolverine. She's like, I mean that much to you? Or Scott. And she's like, okay, wait a minute. This bitch is messing with my man. So she just telepathically from like the other side of the fucking city, just fuck you, bitch. Stay away from my man. I'm the real Jean. Nah, bitch, I'm the real Jean. But you don't even have any memories. Well, let me take your these are my memories. You don't even remember how we got these powers, which in line with how she got the powers in the comics. Her best friend got hit by a car, and the first person's mind she read was her friend dying. Yeah, very very traumatic way to get your powers revealed. But there you have it. I mean, Scott's when he fell out of a plane, so these things happen. Yeah. So anyway, Jean versus Jean. Our Jean wins. They find Mr. Sinister with the baby. He's putting him in something. They stop the process. He's like, haha, but I really win, motherfuckers. And he leaves. He's like, because your baby gonna die now. And baby's infected with a techno-organic virus. There's no cure for it. Baby's got to be sent to the future. Bishop just so happens to be ready to go back to the future. He knows a guy who can make anything. I know a guy who can make anything too. He's in your timeline as well, and he's going to meet Storm in a second. But no, go to the future. I understand this has to happen because there are rules to things, and we're sticking by them. Even if we can't have the same method for how it happens, baby Nate's got to get that virus and get sent to the future. It's got to happen. So it's happening now. Which in the comics, it's Apocalypse who takes the baby from Sinister. But Sinister was going to try to use the super baby as his new host so he could take down Apocalypse. But Apocalypse is like, why don't this become my new host instead when I get done raising him? But first, I'm going to give it a techno-organic virus. Oh shit, the X-Men stopped me. The baby's going to die. Hey, I'm someone from the future sent to take that baby in the future to save him from that techno-organic virus. What? Yes, this is happening, but it's a one-way trip. You will never see your son again if you do this, but he'll live.
What?
And so I let him go. He's got to live. I need my son to live. By then, I think Madeline was also considered dead. So he's like, my life sucks. I'm Scott Summers.
Oh, Scott.
So he's like, here you go. He gives the baby away to the future. It's okay. Turns out the person that sent the person in the past to save him was Cable's sister. Alternate universe baby, Rachel Summers, who had been sent to the future and wanted to save her baby brother. Blah blah blah. Anyway, we get to the point in the show where they send baby Nate to the future. Scott's again like, I don't want to be part of this, but his wife's like, life sucks for mutants. Do you really want Ed? He's gonna die if you don't. It's either he dies or he lives in the future. We keep saying a better future for our kid. Why not literally send him to the future? Can't be part of this. And he leaves. Madeline leaves, getting the name Madeline in the fucking thing, and she's saying goodbye to Jean. She's like, goodbye, Jean. Call me Madeline Pryor. Like, I know why you're naming her that, or she's naming herself that, but that's a random ass name to just pull out of your ass. Call me Madeline Pryor. She leaves, and then we see Storm meet Forge in a bar. Which, yeah, that ends that episode.
Episode 4, Motendo Life Death Part 1. On her birthday, a nostalgic Jubilee is forced to relive the X-Men's greatest adventures when an entertainment system transports her into a 16-bit video game.
The second I saw Mojo in the clips in the opening, I'm like, oh, god damn it. I'm like, not Mojo.
Mojo.
And then sure enough, and then that's also where I put the note, why is the Sinister Morph clip always here? Anyway, yeah, it was apparently Jubilee's birthday. She's 18 now, cool, whatever. She wanted to go to an arcade. Magneto's like, hell no. Like, no, that ain't what I'm doing. And they go in the room, and the second they see that game console, and again, she's with Roberto DaCosta, Sunspot, and they're sitting there, and I'm like, okay, so they're still trying to build this thing between them. And he's talking about, I don't like games anyway, because I'm a rich asshole. And she's like, well, I like video games. He's like, well, what's that? He said Motendo. And I'm like, God fucking damn it, it is a Mojo episode. Motendo. Okay, here we go. And yeah, they get trapped inside. It's an evil video game. Shit's happening, random from her past, and all of a sudden we see him on the screen. There he is, looking thinner than usual. I even typed he looked a lot thinner than usual. And then a couple lines later, Jubilee goes, looks like you've been dieting. I'm like, okay, so that's intentional. And they're like, oh no, he's supposed to be big. But yeah, he had some lines in there about like, oh, I made you a video game character. So Mojo's whole thing is he's from some alternate universe called the Mojoverse, where everything's pretty much about TV and ratings, kind of like what he said here. And
Okay.
he regularly kidnaps X-Men and other Marvel people and puts them through wacky shit where they got to do shit to perform and then escape and save the day. Him and his sidekick Spiral with the fucking 6 arms. She's always associated with him, just like in this. But yeah, this episode, he decided he's making a Jubilee video game where she dies in the game. She dies for real. Oh, and Sunspot's here too. Also, let's have some like cheeky references to the X-Men 80s arcade game. I was upset because when the Magneto came out, he's like, I am Magneto. I'm like, please just have the line, Master of Magnet, or Welcome to Die. Either of those from that game would have been hilarious, because that's the X-Men 80s arcade game that everyone played. Just when you go to the Savage Land, you get to a cliff and Magneto comes down. He's like, X-Men, welcome to die. And then later he's like, I am Magneto, master of magnet. So I'm like, this cheesy, clearly let's, capitalize on a video game or retro video game type scheme. Why
Uh-huh.
not have him say welcome to die or something? Why not reference the arcade game? But they did have other references to it. Bottom line is we had that, and there's an intruder the whole time helping them out. Turns out it's Jubilee. It's an older Jubilee that was like a copy in the game. Weird shit. I don't know.
Kind
Jubilee
of
gets
lost me a little
yeah.
bit.
Jubilee gets to do more with her powers in this one episode than she did. That her powers look cooler in this one episode than they did in the entire 5 seasons of the original.
Yep. I've always questioned like what. All right, so she shoots sparklers out of her
No,
hand.
they're explosives. They're explosives. They're fireworks. They're pop pop pop.
Okay.
She had the potential at one time to cause some said explosions at a subatomic level. You know what happens when you explode atoms? That was where her potential was, but I don't think she ever got to that. At least stated in the comics that that's where her potential could be if she was able to grow up and hone it. But
Mhm.
that potential never got reached because she was one of the victims of M Day. And lost her powers. And then she became a
Right.
vampire.
Okay.
Comics. But yeah. But anyway, she say they fight and everything. They beat Mojo. Cool moment. Save the
Yeah.
day. And then she and Roberto get close and it's like, oh, yep, definitely an item now. Start
Yep.
making out. She starts putting up sparkle fireworks as they're making out. And they go
Mhm.
ahead. I did think it was funny that Mojo, especially now that I'm thinking about it, when Mojo was like, yeah, we needed to have somebody here. Dazzler had a gig, couldn't do it. Don't talk about it. So I got you. With Dazzler's powers being similar to Jubilee's, in this case of like making sparkly shit, although
Uh-huh.
hers is more turn sound into light, which she uses professionally to throw the best fucking laser rock show concert.
Right. I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a singer, so she just has the best fucking laser rock shows because the lights clearly are in sync with whatever the mood's supposed to be. Um,
But yeah, this episode is really about the last 10 minutes.
exactly. Where
Yeah,
we
that's-
get the storyline from the comics where, and again, pretty fucking faithful to it. Forge is trying to help Storm get her powers back, and they're taking some kind of spiritual journey as well as him making shit. Forge in the comics was responsible for the gun that lost Storm her powers. Forge in the comics did come to Storm and be like, this was not intended for you, and I really feel bad about helping the government. I want to fix it. Instead of the Vietnam War, it's just the war where he lost his arm and leg.
Right.
Still a thing though. Yeah, I liked it because it tackled.
And his power set is just
He can
tell him a
invent
problem
whatever he wants.
and he can build a machine for it.
He can invent any machine. He is a plot device. I thought it was weird when they started trying to explain the powers. Where it's like, how does it feel? What it means is my brain can use. I'm like, no, we don't need to explain Forge's powers. Let him be the plot device he is and has always been, and just don't explain it. Who is he? He's a guy who can invent whatever machine. He'll show up when we need a machine invented.
Yeah.
Hey, we just had Forge make this. I didn't think
We have this thing that emits an immense amount of power and the type of power we've never seen before. We need something to hold it. This is the guy that will make the box.
Yeah, it was funny because I did think it was funny. The reason Bishop ended up in the past was chasing some time traveling villain from the future in the comics. Said time traveling villain attacks Forge, trying to get him to make a time travel machine, and he's like, "I've got this futuristic gun. It's from 2,000 years in the future. It can do blah 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 blah," and just list all these specs. And Forge just whips out a gun of his own. He's like, "And this is a so and so so and so." Pretty much outspecs all of his gun stuff. I made it this morning. over breakfast. Fuck you. I can do whatever I want. Yeah, I thought about that this morning, and I thought about it better. What? I'm fucking broken. But yeah, but no, I like that. I do believe they had some kind of thing to do with the adversary. I just don't remember if it looked like a giant fucking owl. Uh, but I loved it, and I did think he deserved the slap when he told her like how he was involved, and she's like, "I don't want nothing to do with it." No, wait, I can just gotta tell you this, and afterwards you can leave. I love you. What the fuck are you trying to hear that right now? I've known you like 2 days max, and you just said you're the reason I ain't got these powers no more. But yeah,
Yeah, no, I loved a line she had that I didn't document, but it was something like you love you love me being your redemption, or something like
yeah,
that.
something
Her
like that.
retort line was really good.
Yeah, you sought to make a goddess, instead you played a fool or something along that as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was another good one.
yeah, he's just like, you are a goddess. Powers a no. But yeah, so I figured she wouldn't get him back this episode because it was called Life Death Part One.
Yeah.
And
And we weren't getting a two-parter of Montendo.
thank goodness. I'm so glad Motendo wasn't the whole episode. I'm not a fan of Mojo. I'm just gonna say it. He's always my least favorite thing when I saw it in the comics with some Mojo shit. I'm like, oh god damn it. It's a Mojo arc. Okay.
That's fair.
So I'm so happy it was only half an episode. Overall, though, those are the first 4 episodes. You know, you gotta see the rest. Go ahead and watch them on Disney Plus. Uh so 4 episodes in. How are you thinking? What are you thinking? X-Men 97.
It's interesting. It's good. I don't know if it's good. It's interesting. It has my attention, and like I said, like I told you, even without knowing the X-Men canon well, I knew that they were jamming a lot into these 30-minute episodes. And so far that hasn't necessarily felt like a bad thing. It hasn't necessarily felt like we didn't, like, I'm not somebody who knows the Inferno saga beat by
Yeah.
beat. So I didn't necessarily feel like we rushed through it.
Yeah.
It felt like something that had its
Oh, it
natural
worked.
single episode.
Oh yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I'll keep tuning in.
Yeah.
How about you? What do you think?
Uh
Slash, where do you think they're going with it?
I have no idea. I like that I have no idea where they're going with it. Because they're doing when Inferno ended up just being a 1 episode thing, which
Hmm.
not mad about, not mad about the way they did it. And again, I even mentioned they were like, hey, we're not including the Colossus sister half of this thing. We're just, here's a cameo from Morph. By the way, Morph's just gonna be a cameo machine, guys. That's what
Yeah.
he's here for. And here to troll. Oh, he fucking trolled Gambit about Rogue and Magneto in the fucking Danger Room. Oh, let's see who's got the Danger Room. Rogue and Magneto. And then Rogue and Magneto, Rogue and Magneto, Rogue and Magneto. Must be working on her stamina with all. Like, damn. Fucked up. But anyway, yeah, so I like what they're doing with the play. When I realized the second episode where they mixed in the storm thing, that and then that I'm like, so they're playing the hits. They're gonna be playing the hits in their own thing to
Yeah.
try and get this going. If there's a second season, that's probably where they'll start being like, let's do a longer 1 season narrative. But they want that nostalgia grab / interest peak this season, which I feel like when I talked about the first episode being a parallel to the first episode of the original, I can
Uh-huh.
kind of say that might be kind of what they're doing, kind of similar to the first season. Because the first episode was the first season was kind of episodic. It had a through line of Beast is in jail and he will eventually serve trial, but everything else just kind of seemed to be whatever that wasn't
Yeah.
involving that. And then the other seasons, it was more this season's story is this. This season is the Phoenix Saga. This season is this, that. But this one is like this is this in one episode, but we kind of still have through line enough. Because now
Yeah.
we're working in the Storm Powers thing. I'm wondering where they're going with that. Because she's already with Forge. So it's not like we're gonna have a long period of no power Storm kicking ass. She'll probably still come back with the leather jacket because she still got the mohawk. But I think in the comics, when she finished the fucking thing with Forge, she grew her hair back as well, just over the time she spent with Forge. Because they were in
Okay.
like a separate dimension doing all this shit because reasons. Where Forge pretty much took them from the Stone Age to like colonial times in the span of like a week, just inventing shit with the stuff he's like pretty much Minecrafting. I was like, oh, I need this. I can invent it with this, and then invent that to invent, and then add a house and everything.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I'm liking it. I'm kind of
Nice.
like you. It's got my interest, especially as an X-Men fan. The nostalgia beats I want are there. It's nostalgic enough to give me that serotonin increase, and different enough and intriguing enough to where I'm like, where are we going with this? Me, I'm like, okay, we're incorporating Sunspot. What other New Mutants are we incorporating, if any? Uh, I know
Great
we're not.
segue to what I wanted to fill in for you. The New Mutants were Wolfsbane, Mirage, Ileana Rasputin, Sunspot, and Sam Guthrie.
Cannonball. All right, yeah, that sounds about right. In all honesty, Ilyana wasn't, I think, an original New Mutant, but those other ones were. Yeah, Ron Sinclair, by the way, she was in the background of Forge's apartment. He had a picture of him with some bunch of people in the past. That's a shout out to I think the X Factor series where it had Polaris, who was the green haired chick, Havoc, Cyclops' brother, a big dude that goes by the name of Strong Guy, Jamie Madrox, the multiple man, and it had the werewolf looking chick was Rain Sinclair or Ron Sinclair, however you pronounce her name. Which I was like, wait, she's younger than interesting that she's in this flashback picture of Forges. Oh, also Quicksilver was in that picture. I just remember because people were complaining that he was too pale in the picture. I'm like, he's Magneto's kid. Anyway, yeah, but fair enough. So they do keep pretty much the same cast and throw Ilyana in there for the movie. I need to eventually watch that.
All righty.
Yeah.
Well, that was cool. We're both gonna keep watching. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Next week we got something a little special. It is the end of season 2. We are again at a second year of this show. And so what we like to do at the year mark is take a moment, take a week to look back and recap some of the things that we've watched over the last 12 months. We're going to break them down. We're going to talk about them a little bit. We're going to hand out some awards for this season. Should be a lot of fun.
Oh, yes, it should be fun. If you want to see that, go ahead and tune in next week. You can also check us out on Saturdays. We got a sports show called You Don't Watch Sports. 2 guys talking about 3 topics, help sprinkle a little information into your sports conversation. It's where your guiding light you to see that sports talk. You can also find me elsewhere on YouTube under whatever we want podcast. I do it with a good friend of mine, good friend of the show, Super Jazz.
Super Jazz?
Thank you very much, if nature intended. And you can also find me on Twitter and Twitch at Giotavi. That is Giotavi. Come on in, stop on by. Bill, you got anything else you want to say to the folks?
No, sir.
All right. Well, everyone, we'll see you next time. Adiosness.